Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Chicago jazz bassist Andrew Vogt. He grew up in the Chicago area, and that's home for him. He's on the heels of his latest album, 2017's AV Club. And this is after his 2014 album as a producer and primary composer under the group The Humble Organisms. And in 2016, he released his first EP as a bandleader entitled For Free. He's had the chance to already play with Ernie Watts, Donny McCaslin, Nate Watts, and many others. He's got a lot of mileage in his jazz rearview mirror already and plenty of stars on his map in the future. So get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Hey, Andrew, thank you for taking a minute out for me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad this finally worked out.
Oh, yeah. It's always good when it comes together, for sure. So let me go ahead and start off here. I got the album AV Club in the mail. Really dig it. Really like your sound, what you're doing, your direction. It's always a pleasure to hear how the modern world of jazz just continues to evolve and progress the way it is. So talk to me about this album now that it's out, how you feel about it.
Feel great. It's like anything else, like any other project, once you finally get it out there into the world, it's just good to know that it's being listened to. It's like you spend so much time writing the songs and crafting them and picking out the right ones and going back and editing and re-editing and all that stuff. So it's just a very good feeling of completion to know that it's done. And a lot of people have been saying that they enjoy it. So I'm glad it's holding up to what I thought it would do.
Right on. So why the AV Club? Is it an obvious reason, or why was that the name?
Yeah, I can't remember when we were trying to figure out a name for the group, and somebody else actually suggested it, but they were like, oh, well, you guys should be the AV Club because you're Andrew Vogt, and that's your initials. So I'm like, well, okay, as long as I didn't come up with it, I don't think it sounds that selfish or anything. So one of my good friends came up with it, and it kind of just stuck. It sounded like the right thing. We were playing as a 4-piece at that time at this place up in Evanston called the Peckish Pig, and that's kind of where we started developing a lot of the songs and stuff. So it's really cool to hear. And it was funny. He texted me when the album came out, and he's like, "Man, it's crazy to think that it's all the way at this stage now from sitting in my folks' basement coming up with the joke name AV Club, and now all of a sudden there's an album out." So,
yeah, that's how it happens. Were you born in Chicago and raised there?
I was born in the suburbs of Chicago, so I was born in Aurora, but I moved out to school and I went to school in the city, and now I've been living here pretty much ever since college.
Right on. So, are you a White Sox or a Cubs fan?
I'm a Cubs fan, but I don't hate the White Sox. I definitely don't, But last year was pretty awesome for all of us. I got the privilege to play a handful of times, like at Wrigley Field, the year before they won, and then this year they've called us back again as well. So it's been really cool to just play. I got to meet a lot of the players last year, just through a random gig, not through the AV Club, but just through other music experiences, and it's cool to be able to entertain the people that entertain you.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, the year before, our long-suffering drought went away here in Kansas City, so it was good to see Chicago got
That's
the
right.
same dose. Yeah, so it was good. Talk to me about growing up in Chicago and how you got so interested in jazz.
Well, it was definitely kind of like, for me at least, it was like the thing that all the cool people, all of my friends were doing, and all the people I wanted to hang out with were doing. Like the school I went to, Waubonsee Valley, was a really good, had a really good music program. It was particularly really good in like theater and show choir and stuff like that. I didn't participate in that, but I definitely I was in like all the jazz bands I could be in, and all the orchestra and everything. I played the upright bass, and I really just kind of like soaked all that stuff in, and started just playing gigs when I was probably 16, not every night or anything, but definitely started to have my first couple gigs around that time. And I remembered always being in class, like writing out set lists of songs that I wanted to play that night, that we'd play on the Friday night afterwards. So from there, and just playing with friends and stuff like that. And then once everyone I was always the youngest of the people in the band or whatever, so everyone started going to college and was like, oh, well, we're going to go for music. We're going to go for music. And I went, oh, well, I should probably do that too. You know, I want to keep doing that. And so a lot of them went to UIC. A lot of them transferred out afterwards, but I kind of stuck around just because I wanted to be in the city. There was, you know, it was either UIC or going to NIU, which is out in DeKalb, which is pretty much the opposite direction of the city. And for me, I was kind of like, I want to be, you know, in it. I want to be in the scene. I want to be as connected as I can be while I'm going to school here. And I think that was a good decision because I started picking up gigs pretty quickly just by being a bass player and being around and available in the city. So yeah, I was playing like pretty much every night in college, and yeah, from there it went into, you know, just starting to meet people that were like-minded and that wanted to get together and play each other's songs, and then writing, you know, in different bands and collaborating and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden you've got a group band with all your friends that's playing all your music. So it's cool to kind of look back and see that it's all been worthwhile.
Without a doubt, dream realized. What about jazz albums growing up? What were some that you were listening to that were really formative?
I remember for sure, like one of my high school, you know, band directors he had this awesome library of CDs back when CDs were actually, you know, like cool things. And I remember he just had this huge stack, and he'd let me like go in there every like week or so, and I'd walk in and just grab like 10 CDs and listen to them all the time. And I remember for sure there was Oscar Peterson Trio Night Train was like one of the first albums I remember it just had on repeat all the time. And that I remember at that time I also was listening to the Jaco Pastorius birthday concert. That was like another one. I wasn't really that good and wasn't really playing electric bass at that time, but I just remember that was just so cool, and I thought, you know, wow, this guy's amazing. So it was like Ray Brown and Jaco were the two guys that I really looked up to. And then aside from that, I was really into like the funkier kind of jam band types of things like Medeski, Martin and Wood and John Scofield, like his A Go-Go album, and any of the Medeski, Martin and Wood stuff. I was really into all that just because I really loved Chris Wood's playing and stuff. So I definitely, and then as I went into college, I started to dive back into like more of the, you know, the really classic albums and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, I was listening to kind of Blue and, you know, Giant Steps and stuff like that at the time as well. But for things that really like stuck out, for some reason I remember like the first legit jazz album that you could say would be like Oscar Peterson Trio, Night Train. I remember I just always would listen to that when I was mowing the lawn and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great, man. So let me ask you this. The teachers that you had in school, were there any teachers that gave you advice that really stuck with you that has reverberated with the way you've approached your career in the live stage?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think there was any, like, for me, I think there wasn't, I don't remember any particular like quotes or advice or anything, but I do just remember them being all very just nurturing, and just like I said, just the fact that the one teacher just had that like shelf of CDs that was just always like, yeah, just come in whenever. Like it's great to know somebody's soaking it up type of thing. Because I don't think there was that many people that were interested, which was kind of unfortunate because like I said, the music program was actually really good. But yeah, like I'm sure they said a ton of awesome things that stuck with me that I can't remember now, but more than anything, I just remember them being just very positive and just very like, just very happy that, you know, somebody was interested in it. Like, as I had imagined, you know, I don't do any teaching now, but I know, like, you know, I talk to a ton of my friends, and, you know, they're like, the greatest thing ever is when you even just have one kid that's like, yeah, like, I get this, I really want to do this, you know, because I think a lot of the kids that end up, you know, in school or teaching or taking lessons and stuff like that are not necessarily there because they want to be there. It might be more because their parents want them to do something, or you know what I mean, or maybe they bought a guitar but now they're not practicing it, or whatever the case is. But I think I just remember them being very, very happy that there was somebody interested, and like genuinely interested, not just like I'm here because I have to be.
Well, the one thing too about your career is that you've brushed some greatness. You've been around Ernie Watts, Donny McCaslin, Nate Watts. What is it like to get up next to people that have such clout like that and play with them?
Yeah, it's cool, and it's very obviously it was like you're starstruck a little bit, and you're trying to be cool and not say stupid things and not say not enough. There's a million things running through your head of like, well, I want to talk to him, but I also don't want to like overbear him with questions. But I think more than anything, it's just really cool to know that they're just the same people just like us. They're very much like, they're not superhumans, they're not superheroes, they don't have like these crazy powers. They're just they're very much just like us, and at the end of the day, they just want to get to know people just like everyone else does. I would say that more than anything, each one of those people has seemed a lot more genuine and a lot more real of a person than you would ever expect, and than probably a lot of other people. And I think that maybe just comes from maybe having that experience of meeting a lot of people, or I don't know what, but they definitely have a certain other quality that's very genuine and very just caring. Like Ernie Watts was very cool, and in particular just because him and his wife were both at a couple shows that we played, and they were like, hey, just keep in contact, and they still keep in contact with me. They'll send me Christmas cards and stuff like that around the holidays, and I've gone out to see them like in LA when they've played out there. So they're just very, very cool people, and they just love to talk and just get to know you, and the same thing with like Donny McCaslin. He was just very like, when I first met him, I didn't even know him, and he just came up and gave me a huge hug. So I was like, wow, you're a really nice person. So yeah, just more than anything, like I guess just you're just surprised that, I'm not surprised, but it's just a good feeling to know that these people are very nice, and they've probably got to where they are by being just genuine people, and also just very nice people, and very approachable and just easy to work with, I'm sure. And so that's kind of like an inspiration in itself, not all technicality and playing and chops and all that thing aside. It's like, man, they're very easy people to work with, and you'd love to just hang out with them. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from hanging out with people like that.
If you could get into a time machine, we've been talking about some big names in jazz, but if you could get into a time machine and go see somebody, like in a jazz DeLorean in the history of jazz, who would you go see? Where would you go?
A jazz DeLorean, I like that. Man, that is a great question. I think I'd have to go see, I think I would love to go see Ray Brown. If it was a bass player, I think I'd have to go see Ray Brown or Jocko, like I said before. Jocko would have been really cool. That's a really tough question, but I also, I think it also would have been great to see Charlie Parker, and just be able to say that you were there for all that madness. Yeah, that was a really good question. I don't know if I could pinpoint one. I think I'd have to have a couple sequels.
Yeah, you would. Just like the movie, you just need to keep Doc alive and around, and you'll be all right.
That's right.
Right. Get some plutonium and go. Why do you love jazz?
Probably a handful of reasons, but I really do love it just because, I know it sounds really cliche and probably everyone says it, but it's just always different. It's different every time you play it, and it's because you're playing with different people that are coming from different backgrounds, and also different, even just emotions through a single day can change the way you play a song. It's like I have groups that play, once a month. I have groups that play once a year. I have groups that I'm in that play once a week. And just the amount of, you might be playing the same exact music with each of those groups, but it's going to be just completely different because everyone interprets it their own way. And I really do think it really speaks to somebody's personality and their character, and it just says a lot about a particular person to play music with them, and particularly to play something like, jazz, a really creative art form where, there really, there are rules, but there really aren't at the same time. And, wherever somebody wants to take it, they can take it at any time. So, and it's just a very it brings people together in this different way, where, if you sit down and play a couple tunes with somebody, you feel like you might know more about them than if you actually sat and, had a couple 2-hour-long conversation with them. It's a very personal art form and a way of communicating that I've always just enjoyed, and it only gets better over time as well. And I think that's also a very inspirational thing, and the thing that kind of drives me forward to keep playing with people and to keep practicing myself and just keep exploring, is that you're really never done, and it just keeps kind of getting better and better, and that's something really cool, at least in a music world or even in a career world, where a lot of people they kind of get their job and they got their dream job, and it's like, cool, okay, what do I do now? Like, I'm done. I guess I can make more money, or I can, hopefully I can get a promotion. But with music, it's kind of just always changing. It's like you might have a great gig one year, you might not the next year, but you're always kind of pushing forward regardless of where you're at, because there's always just so much to learn. And I think that's kind of a very, I don't know, it just kind of follows you with the rest of your life, I guess. And I think that's really cool. It's more of a journey, and it's more of a process of figuring this music out than it really is like a job or a career, So I think it's just it's more connected with life, I think, than a lot of other careers are. If that answers your question.
It does.
Yeah, it just makes me happy to know also that there's lots of other people out there that are kind of in the same mentality, which is cool. Like I said, you connect with these people that are kind of feeling the same way. It's like, yeah, we're all in this together. No one is better than anyone else. And when you finally meet those people that are like that, it just really makes playing music cool, because it's just, everyone's in it for the journey. No one's in it to, be better. No one's in it to showboat. No one's in it to, make money or, be the best. It's just all about, just figuring it all out together. And I think that's in itself is why I love playing jazz.
Right on. So let's say we hook up in 10 years. What are you going to want to see your future turn out to be? What do you want to see happen down the line?
Oh, well, definitely another AV Club record. At least one. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously more records with other groups. It's been even the past couple years, just looking back 5 years from where I'm at now, I've got way more albums than I would have ever imagined that I'm on. Say just to continue doing that. I'd love to get out there and play with like a bigger, well-known group. I love doing the sideman thing as much as I love being a band leader as well. Like, I love just playing as a sideman. So if I could do something like that, that would be cool. I'd love to, just be able to know more people in different parts of the world as well. I think that's kind of, whether it's in this country or, in another country, to be able to either do some touring or just even just living and exploring in a different country for a little while and seeing and figuring out how music works there and how the people communicate music there. So definitely, a lot of things, I suppose, just more music and better music. I would hope I'd hope I obviously get better over time and with playing and also just writing. But also, yeah, just like I said, knowing people and just getting a better grasp on the world, whether that's like, knowing people in different countries or really knowing a town and knowing everyone in it or whatever. Who knows what will be in 10 years. It might be way easier to get halfway across the world in 10 years. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose in 10 years just to do what I'm doing, but obviously maybe on a bigger scale, and to just have more people know that my music is out there. That would make me very happy.
Very cool. I think that's a perfect way to wrap everything up. Andrew, thank you for taking some time out to talk about your life and music and for the music. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad. Like I said, thanks for having me. I'm glad it all worked out.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Andrew for his tenacity, his music, and his time. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.